Hi everyone, welcome to today's Altcoin Bible, the shorter version of the premium session. If you're wanting to watch that, where I go into Bitcoin yields, why things are kind of melting down globally at the moment, apart from gold, make sure to become a newsletter subscriber, clicking the link below. Apart from that, let's crack straight into the Altcoin Bible. All right, there are a host of charts today that do not look very appealing, and I'm going to start with Zcash, and then we're going to get into maybe a wonder watch / danger zone in a sec. But Zcash here, it worries me. It's had a massive run up. Privacy's had a really strong move. Bitcoin appears to be having that pullback in line with a lot of the debt crisis problems that are going on at the moment. But if you had no idea about what's going on in the world, you'd just be looking at Bitcoin going, it's weakening. And so some of these charts have had a really good go of it. Are they beginning to weaken? And yes, they are. So if I'm looking at Zcash here, lower highs in this pattern, you did get those higher lows, but right now it's just looking weak. You see here, drop down to the bottom level of this pattern here. Then it rallied back into these moving averages, but it just got blunted, completely sold into. That's another lower high. Really apparent that it couldn't get any higher than that. It really struggles to move any higher when it's got that just sell pressure just running into it. And once you see this engulfing these engulfing red candles through this whole phase, and just gets eviscerated, and it falls through this trend line. It's looking really, really bearish. So to me, this looks like Zcash wants to unwind itself down to these lower levels. Also, the daily RSI has got a bit of room to go to the downside. Now, if it can do something like this, if Zcash can flip that and get a bit uppity here, reclaim this level here, then I think Zcash is a go. 450 and above. But right now, this looks like Zcash wants to, resolve itself somewhere into this realm, or at worst down at the 200 moving average, which is that 250. Just need to just zoom back a little bit and just understand how much this has gone up. You see, it's got a lot of air underneath it. Not saying it can't hold itself up at these kind of levels, but generally this will moderate. This will moderate down to lower levels, and this big chunk here looks like it wants to get targeted down about 280, 300. So for me, this is a danger zone currently. If you're in this here, I reckon you could probably scale out of positions as it rolls higher. But for mine, this is a pretty good short opportunity looking at Zcash. All right, the one to watch that's danger zone, which I mentioned before, is actually Litecoin. And I've gone up to a really high level on Litecoin just to illustrate how precarious it is for this OG crypto. So it has failed just to run through these kind of highs since 2023. It's failed to really make considerable new highs since 2021, and it's getting weaker and weaker over time. Now, I've gone up to the monthly chart here. This is a trend line. You can just see it's just sloping up, and I've gone from the bodies of the candles. I could probably massage it up just a little bit, but this is monthly. So you're getting a lot of data by looking at the monthly chart here. What are we doing here? Well, the monthly closes here. This will be the first time in a very, very long time that Litecoin is in these types of areas. This to me would be a break, a monthly break. Then you look at the weekly, it looks the same. Look at the daily, it looks just as bad. This is looking like continuation. There's also a lot of room to run. This is the first time really ever, I guess, on this chart. This is just a perpetuals futures chart on Binance, but there's probably a lot of older charts where we may have been, lower on the monthly RSI. But this is, in recent memory, since last cycle, 2021, Litecoin's in this type of area. So this has a fair way to go. This could really get down to the 50s. This could go maybe even lower. That is if, crypto broadly is in a bear market. Bitcoin, you could argue, is in a bear market. I know I had that same conversation with Checkmate the other day. Fundamentally, we are in a bear market, but price action hasn't followed through for Bitcoin yet. Which is interesting. It could hold itself up, above those 80,000s and continue to do its thing until we roll higher, or we may roll lower. And if that's the case, what do you think altcoins are going to do? So this chart looks horrific. You can see ugly on the weekly and the month. Where you get interested in some of these charts again is when it begins to flip overhead levels, where we see strength. So you are paying a bit more of a premium here, waiting for that $100 level to flip. That's where you take some early risk, because we're beginning to see some weekly, monthly closes in these types of regions. Then we're looking at 114 for good entries, because this is an area up here just hasn't really been tapped for a very long time. So one to watch / danger zone. Just watch this, because it's a long-term chart that's breaking down. Very similar to my next chart, but it's going the other direction. All right, I'm going to share with you two charts which I actually think are, quote unquote, cherry ripe. Now, having a longer term focus with something like Monero is really important, because it had this really strong 10-year breakout of this overhead level. A lot of people were focusing on it, including myself. had that huge run above 830. That's a really big move from where it was. Now it's coming back to retest the breakout level. So if you're patient, it's come all the way back. Now you have an entry, but do you want to? That's, again, questionable. I want to see a couple of weekly closes above this level. I want to see a hold above 485. I want to see it stay above here, and then you'll get that slow drift higher. But as with anything, you just look at technicals, it's broken out of that 10-year overhead resistance. All it's done is had a bit of a run, over exuberant run, and now it's coming back to retest the breakout level, which is perfectly fine. It's actually very, very bullish. It's bullish if it holds there. If it gets a weekly close beneath, let's say, that level and the 10 EMA just below, then you're in a bit of trouble. So if it's anywhere in 460, 450 region on a weekly close, yeah, it's not a good spot. So this is an area I'd be very interested in forming a position, but I want to wait for a few closes on my end. Now, another chart, because I wanted to show you a few, and this was really surprising. I was looking through my my list here, just saying, you know, what actually looks okay, and you look at this chart and go, what the heck? And I agree with you. And I wanted to show you a much more high spec option, because there's very few charts that look good against Bitcoin. And that is, you know, BNB still looks pretty good as long as it takes out the overhead resistance. But then there's little old dog here, which looked phenomenal against Bitcoin. In terms of, when I say phenomenal, I mean, I'm looking at this like a downtrend, and I'm seeing a resistance flip support, you know, the early stages of a much larger reversal. If I look at dog here, this is on the daily, dog's had a tremendous sell-off. It's trying to flip this overhead resistance into support here. So I'm watching that, and I'm watching it come back down to the 50. This is actually a really nice setup. It's broken the downtrend, and it's trying to flip the horizontal as well. So I'm paying attention to this. It's a one to watch. I think there's a 66% move on the offering here, as long as everything stabilizes. But it's very interesting to see something like dog, which is a meme coin, and to show some strength while Bitcoin's weak and everything else is weak. I mean, that relative strength's really good. So if there's any kind of stability shown in Bitcoin and you know, the rest of the market, then whatever's showing that relative strength generally has some really good punching power, you know, when everything subsides. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll catch you again soon. See ya. Bye.